All right, everybody. Welcome to the Houston Ensemble podcast, number 17. We've got with us a gem of a guest today, the great Houston legend, DJ Sun. So we're so grateful you're here. Thank you for coming out to the studio today.
Thank you for that intro. Wow.
You know,
And I gotta live up to that.
I know you're the main MC here in Houston, so I gotta make sure I'm doing my MC work properly.
Yeah.
But DJ Sun is an amazing musician, DJ, owner of The Flat, one of the coolest bars, clubs here in Houston. And Armin and I thought that it would be sweet to have him on since we used to play at The Flat back in the day. And, we just want to bring somebody cool like yourself on and have a conversation. So tell the people what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, what people want to hear is that a vaccine is imminent and things are going in the right direction, and
Wow.
that things are gonna open up soon. That's what people want to hear.
Yeah.
We'll see how long it takes. That's what I would like to see happen, a return to, dare I say, normalcy. That's not happening, right? It's not necessarily going to be normal again, but somewhat normalcy, right? To where we can all be out. We can watch you guys play live in like major venues.
Right.
I can DJ for like 500 people instead of 50.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for those 50. Believe me.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to like kind of pack them in again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So was that what you were going?
No.
for?
I don't know. Anything.
I will throw this out there
Sure,
since
sure.
you already went there.
Sure.
You went there so fast.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. Let's do this. Man, there's a couple of scenarios. Like, if I'm being honest, like, on one hand, it might be somewhat like if I was a Benny man and I was thinking about how to keep this train going.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you know what? Bezos just doubled his wealth. I just doubled my wealth.
Elon surpassed
all those. It's like people are making bank right now.
Right. Well, so I didn't read the article about Elon, and that's a phone that dropped. Chad, what's going on? Calling out the host of the show. But I really, I didn't read the article, but intuitively, and correct me if I'm wrong, I tell people I'm a satellite dish because I just kind of take in information and hardly ever send it out. Even though I think satellite dishes do send it out, right? I don't know.
I think they do both. They can receive.
Now
and
we're just
shoot.
going off the wrong tangent.
DJ Sun, the satellite dish.
Hey, that's a new business venture.
Yeah.
DJ Sun satellite dish.
Is it solar?
Your music.
You know, it is
get your
solar.
music.
DJ Sun, I don't know.
Yeah, it would be solar.
Yeah.
But intuitively, I think Elon bypassed Bezos because Bezos had to give up half of his fortune, right? He just came out of a divorce.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I didn't catch that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Bezos would still be top.
I'm confused though because
Amazon's killing it.
for what I remember,
Should have gotten that prenup.
From what I remember, is he divorced. He went down to like 60 billion. Poor guy, And then he doubled it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, right at the beginning of COVID, within a month, he doubled it. Yeah. And now I think he added another 50, 60 billion on that. I'm just like, dude, what? How are you guys doing this right now? This is crazy.
Yeah.
People are getting poor.
Well, they're doing it because you know why they're doing it. Everybody's sitting at home going, I need some paper clips, but I don't want to go to the store. I'm not gonna drop advertising by naming stores, but and then you go, well, let's call the jungle, the Amazon.
It's called Jeff.
Whole Foods 2.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That was really my point. Was that from a business perspective, you'd want to keep it going, kind of.
Yeah. That's true. I don't subscribe to conspiracy theories.
I don't subscribe to any mega corp type business. They want to keep it going. Obviously, a small business.
Subconsciously, you would walk around with that, but you wouldn't say that. Like if Jeff Bezos was recorded.
No, you can't say that. No.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like if it was in play, somebody would have said it and recorded. So? You know, it's kind of.
Well, maybe it's out there.
If it reached you, it may have been said.
Yeah.
Who are your sources, Armov?
No.
Reveal your sources.
I'm not saying, it's like, is it conspiracy theory? Like all businesses do all day long is like, what are they doing? What should I do? What are they doing? What should I do? So if that's a conspiracy theory, then so be it. But I just see it as like people trying to make money. Like everyone trying to
Yeah. Sure.
And it is the largest transfer of wealth ever at this point.
I've heard about that.
Good for them.
One, economic group to the other economic group. And that's like, holy shit balls. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. And, it seems like they want us to stay at home. It seems like they want to continue where you get the online shopping, you get the online groceries, you get the online Amazon.
Give it to us.
You got the Netflix, you got the Disney.
Give me more.
You got the VR.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we just did a crystal ball episode on New Year's Day where we were making some predictions about the future.
Yeah. Well, if I can flip the script.
Please.
A little bit on that. So, yes, these things are happening, but they're happening as a result of something that we should have expected and was predicted by scientists. But you know how it goes with scientists these days. People like mainstream, one side of the spectrum goes, scientists, what? We used to respect scientists, but if they bring bad news, then we're not going to listen to them. But there were people who were predicting this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was inevitable. If we're cutting down rainforests or we're penetrating certain areas where we're getting closer to animals, viruses will jump from animals to the human being, right? That's just going to happen. And we're increasing our population and we're creating the scenario for something like COVID to happen. Okay, so COVID happened unexpectedly for most, because you and I didn't really see it coming. I
was on it right when it came out, early January. I was like, holy crap,
really?
Chinese virus.
You were seeing it.
I was seeing it, and then I wrote a song about it.
Oh, wow.
And then I was like, I wonder if this is going to be crazy or not. Like the very first ever CNN article on it.
Yeah.
I said, I wonder if this is going to be weird, and then it just took off.
Yeah.
Obviously.
My friend was in Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
Right in January. Wow. And,
you could see it.
It hit them first, right? So it was already going on.
Right.
And he got freaked out.
Yeah.
When he came back here, he went immediately into quarantine before March.
Right. But I'm talking about pre-November. Pre it actually happening, right? No one really saw that. And then the way I want to flip the script is like, as a result of that, we see, well, wait a minute. We have all these tools at our disposal. We could just order things online and have it be delivered, right? So that explodes. We can work from home. You don't have to, I walked out of my home in like May or so, and, I'm in the middle of Montrose, and I'm like, wow, the sky is so clear. You wonder why. Because people are not driving cars. The factories are not necessarily working, right? So all these things are happening as a result of something horrible, a pandemic that's killing people. But we can walk away from that going, well, maybe we don't have to go to the office anymore. Maybe we could just all order our groceries online. Now, that's not going to foster any sort of community interaction. And it's still like, unless you're doing it in electric cars, it's still going to hurt the environment to have like everything delivered to you. But just to kind of give a counter to what you're saying, it's something that people maybe want to stick around, right? Not just the corporate interests that provide it, but maybe it's convenient for people now.
There is a niceness to, especially when we were in the beginning of the quarantine, like when it was pretty serious.
Yeah.
There was a niceness to that, being able to kind of just chill and just work on, especially like as musicians or whatever, you just get to sit down and not worry about anything.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It still is.
It's not as free now. I feel like Armin and I can't speak for you, but he and I are kind of like almost back to work, like in general.
Yeah.
Every day we're doing something. So
I never really stopped working.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my anecdotal, like, accounting of like what's happened, because I try to keep the flat going, and try to find some loopholes with like the patio.
Good.
Right.
But that was not going to happen. Health department came fairly quickly.
Oh wow.
And that was like March 18th, right, when they were telling us, hey, you got to shut down. And we're like, oh, maybe we can just do it from the patio. Wrong. So I had to shut down for a couple of months, and then I went into doing IG Live, just like, just kind of thought about, hey, well, what do I do best? Well, I DJ best of anything that I do in my life, right? And I make a little bit of music, and so that's what I did, and I just didn't stop. Went 40 days, 40 nights, like twice a day, and I treated it as though I was on tour, because I'd been hanging out with Mark from Krungbin,
everybody.
the couple weeks before, and I'd been on some tour dates with them, and I've been on stage with bands before throughout my career, and so I was like, this could just be my tour from my home, right? From my home studio. You just kind of get ready for it. I had different outfits for different days, Orange pants became a thing.
Yeah,
that was really funny. Well, the way it happened, I'm wearing orange pants, and people are like looking at the screen. Little did I know, like, if you wear orange pants, it looks like you're not wearing pants, right?
Yeah.
It kind of does. I didn't realize that. To me, it's just like, these orange pants are kind of kicking,
Yeah.
And but on the chat, people are like, "Are you wearing pants?" And I'm like, "I'm wearing orange pants." And then orange pants became a drinking game.
Were they tight? Tight pants?
I mean, all my pants are tight.
Okay.
No, I don't know. Should I wear baggy pants?
It's because style.
No.
You wear a fitted.
Depends on
You
your
wear
style.
a fitted pant.
Yeah.
Like a man who knows style.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I don't.
And I'll wear a
I don't do
baggy
fucking
pant.
baggy pants.
I'll wear a baggy pant
I know that's a thing, but yeah.
because I'm a man who knows style as well.
Right.
And so
you can go either.
you can have the whole charcuterie board of styles.
Sure.
And so if I gotta wear if I gotta wear the baggy camo pants,
yes,
I'll do it.
Speak French?
Oui, no,
Alright.
no, oui.
But you speak
Mon
Dutch.
petit peu. Oh, yes, there you go. Oh, sorry, did that with my phone now. I do speak Dutch.
Can you tell? I personally remember, but can you tell everybody like where you're from and a little bit about your growing up history?
Yeah. I was born in Rotterdam, and that is in the Netherlands. It's one of the biggest harbors in the world. I think it's the biggest harbor, volume-wise, in Europe, like even bigger than Hamburg, I'm told. And so it was really nice growing up in Rotterdam, and I roll my R's like because that's what Dutch people do.
Just a quick relation. We got a little synchronicity going
Oh,
on.
look at that, Amsterdam.
And I don't think Armin knew you were from Rotterdam.
Okay.
No.
I told him you speak Dutch though.
But if I'm from Rotterdam and he's wearing an Amsterdam shirt, not necessarily. We're rivals, right? So you're not really like.
How far is it? Like 40 minutes? Rotterdam?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Yeah,
So
I went there.
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
I like that. I like.
Did I? Not to interrupt you, but did I ever tell you that I studied at the music school in Amsterdam?
No. Wow, that's awesome.
Okay, we keep going. So we all have a connection to
Ah.
Amsterdam.
That's so awesome. I don't have a connection in Amsterdam.
We have a connection to the Netherlands.
I have a connection in Rotterdam.
Let's do that.
Let's correct that.
Yeah.
You're getting heated.
No, no, that's
Like,
more
damn.
like.
I
hey,
also went to Rotterdam.
There you go.
It was really sweet.
So now you redeem yourself.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Rotterdam's kind of cooler.
I had a great.
It's kind of more chill.
And he's redeeming himself more.
Well, it's definitely cool, like architecture and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Well, and that's because in the 40s during the World War, because of it being a harbor, it was bombed to pieces by the Germans, and so it was completely destroyed. And then, of course, you had the Renaissance of architecture and the city and art, and now you're seeing that. You're seeing a lot more modern structures than you would in Amsterdam, for instance, right? And I was jesting about being competitive with Amsterdam. Yeah. Amsterdam is a beautiful city, but very historic, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to tear down these historic buildings, but the Germans helped us tear the historic buildings down in Rotterdam, and so now you have beautiful architecture. So that's kind of the result of that. So I spent 7 years there. My father was studying in a town called Delft.
I went to Delft.
Yeah. So Delft has a prestigious university, and he got his degree there. And then being from Suriname is a former Dutch colony.
Yeah.
Then we all returned. Well, I didn't return. I was born in the Netherlands while he was studying there, but I had the opportunity to then go to Suriname and move from like a harbor town, fairly well populated, about 800,000, to a small country in a rainforest.
Wow.
Did you like go back to another world like that, but also kind of like your roots in a sense?
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. So as you go there as a 7-year-old and you return to the motherland, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily my motherland. It's the motherland of my father.
Right.
So you go into it, and you go into a strange setting because you come from like this mostly concrete, very little parks, to all green and all sorts of fruits and vegetables and animals and sounds and mosquitoes and swamps and you name it. And that was amazing to just. But it's a little bit of a shock, right? So there's an adjustment period, and then there's just amazing beauty living. Like I tell people, I grew up in a rainforest, which my father worked for a mining company in the interior. So we were about 30, 40 miles from the capital. The capital is the only major city that's populated beyond like a few 100,000. The place we lived in was a village of, I mean, I could count the number of homes if you give me a second, and probably estimate that 15 families lived there.
Wow.
And then you cross into another village, and that's a little bit more populated, but not by very much. So it was very, it was nice. It was something today you talk about as like, whoa, I took that for granted, man. Living in a rainforest, you know?
Yeah.
Walking around barefooted most of the time. Unless you went to school. Like when we went to school, put shoes on, got home, took the shoes off, walked barefoot, played soccer barefoot, had calluses that were probably about this thick under my feet.
That's sweet.
It was just, it was a beautiful thing. Lived there till I was 14, and then had another culture shock by coming to South Texas.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you're still here, so.
Yeah, really.
Why you still here though?
I like Houston a lot. Yeah. Out of all the cities in Texas, this is where I'm gonna be, right?
Yeah.
The most diverse city in the country.
Yeah.
Surpassing New York just a couple of years ago. So, but when I landed, we were in Victoria, Texas, and Victoria, Texas has its charms, and we'll stop there.
Real charm.
Are your parents still alive?
Yes. My father lives in Suriname. My mother lives here in Cinco Ranch.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I'm very fortunate to have my parents still.
That's good. When's the last time you were in Suriname?
The year we left.
Wow.
Well, there was a military coup, right?
Okay.
And then,
I'm not really familiar with their history much.
Yeah, so it's typically a democracy, and I think 58 or so, 1958. We didn't gain our independence. We gained autonomy from the Dutch, and so we were able to just kind of put a parliament together and kind of make our own laws, etc. But still dependent on the Netherlands. And then in 1975, Suriname became independent. Probably a little bit prematurely because 5 years later the military takes over. Since then, it's gone back to a democracy. But during those years of military rule, things were very volatile. and so there was really no desire to go to Suriname. While I was in my 20s, etc. If I'm gonna have the money to travel, I'd go to the Netherlands because most of my family had by then migrated to the Netherlands to get away from the volatility in Suriname. So that's kind of the long answer of like why or how long ago it's been since I would love to go now.
That's cool.
There's a whole kind of birthright program for Armenians, like birthright, like Israel does birthright. And I've been kind of contemplating doing it. Okay. Just because I want to see just a couple of things. Yep. I want to see what the youngins are doing out there. You know what I'm saying? But now there's a war going on there. Yeah. So
that's really tough.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't see it getting better.
Soundbite.
Yeah. I don't see it getting better unless Armenia actually, and this is the advice that Putin gave Armenia, which is kind of annoying. He's like, the thing is, like, if you join us, if you melt into Russia, you'll be untouchable. Yeah. But if not, I don't know.
You'll be untouchable, but we'll touch you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking we might have to do that. Like, if you can imagine a long lost, dying country melting into another bigger one to survive, it might have to happen. But when I think about Suriname and what you were saying, like now there's like it's probably not safe. It's probably not super dangerous. Like what?
It's safe. So the worst thing that I think the CIA page will list, and anybody can look this up. Yeah. Because you can look up any country on the CIA website, right, to see how safe it is. Yeah. I think they list the worst thing that can happen is like or one of the things that's prevalent that you should look out for, pickpocketing. Or being swindled or whatever. Which is understandable, right? If you go as a tourist, especially the Dutch go there a lot. Yeah, for ecotourism.
Oh, I'm pickpocketing those guys.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird vibe.
Yeah, so
there was so much Surinamese food in the Netherlands, and it was delicious.
It's so good.
So I'm a big fan of it, and I hadn't had it anywhere else.
It's so good. Yeah. I think you can go to Florida. There was a restaurant here on the north side of town, and I'm not sure that they're still around. That was serving Surinamese food. And I believe the next best thing you could probably find would be in Florida.
In Florida?
Well, if people from Suriname are leaving Suriname or finding other opportunity outside of Suriname, there's two choices. There's Miami, which is the first stop in the U.S. from the Caribbean. You would catch a flight you would go to Trinidad, and then catch a flight from Trinidad to Miami. Yeah. And so that would make sense, right? So that Miami connection. So a lot of folks have established themselves there, and then of course the Netherlands. So you got those 2 points. Some folks have gone to New York, but yeah, it's been interesting watching that, and then not necessarily having the opportunity to like travel abroad a whole lot. The last time I actually went to the Netherlands was quite a while back for a funeral. And the time before that was for a funeral.
Whoa.
So,
bummer.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, those things are bummers, but it's also like you don't really take the opportunity to do that. When I've taken the opportunity to travel, it's like, let's go to San Francisco, do a DJ set, promote the album. Let's go to New York, work with some, fellow musicians. Let's go to Philly, do a DJ set, hang out with King Britt.
Who can you shout out in Philly, NYC, LA? Who can you shout out?
You want me to shout out people?
Let me throw some names out there.
Okay, well, Philly, I just mentioned King Britt, Rich Medina, Scheme Richards. There's Lil Dave, and that crew. There's in New York, I mean, my crew's in Kensington, New York, and that's Names You Can Trust, NYC Trust. Eric, what's up, Eric? we got Navarro, we've got Nicodemus, we got Aaron Schultz, we got Bassett Jazz. I mean, we can go on and on. We got Giant Step, Maurice Bernstein and his crew. We got Nappy from Groove Collective, Jonathan Marin, Genji Sarazi from Groove Collective, amazing drummer. You can stop me now if you'd like.
How'd you get linked up with all these people?
To the radio show, primarily, and doing things also. Like for 28 years now, right? I've DJ'd. Started in 1992. And then had a jazz bar of sorts downtown for about 8 months called Solstice. That's where I met Tim Ruiz.
Oh, wow.
I think John Durbin may have been like a peep squeak teen kind of dude who came in and played a little bit. Because at the time I was married to Miss Price's daughter. Miss Price from, I don't know if you guys went to HSPVA.
We did not.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I'm not even from here.
So there you go. But you know John Durbin.
I know of John Durbin. I hear Corey Wilson talk about John Durbin all the time.
John Durbin's a beast. What's up, John Durbin? And the Suffers. Yeah. So anyway, was downtown, and then I mentioned Solstice because of those connections. But then once Solstice was done, like I was actually DJing at Solstice, and a friend of mine at the time, he's since passed, rest in peace, he comes up, Winfred Johnson, R.I.P. He comes up to me and he goes, "Yo, KPFT wants this music. Go there." And I went there, did a proposal for them. They brought me in, and then I started the radio show, and it was Solar Grooves. Lasted 20 years, and through that, I got booked to do a lot of shows to promote these various bands that were being booked by then SFX, which was Pace before it was SFX, and then it became Live Nation. So all these smaller companies, right, they get gobbled up by these bigger ones, and then it just becomes a huge conglomerate of sorts. But I had an opportunity to like tour with Groove Collective.
That's cool.
And open up for like Moby, open up for Massive Attack, Tricky, and a slew of other artists, Maxwell,
Really?
and
Maxwell,
We were just playing some Maxwell.
Roy Ayers, and Maxwell.
Damn.
Maxwell has a connection with Groove Collective in that his very first hit was written by Ital Shur, and Ital Shur was one of the founding members of Groove Collective.
What hit is that?
That was Ascension. Don't ever wonder, right?
Don't ever wonder. Yeah.
So Ital Shur co-wrote that song, but he was also the keyboard player and founding member of Groove Collective. And I'm still very good friends with the bass player, Jonathan Marin.
Oh,
That's
cool.
who I was just shouting out. Genji, of course, on drums, and then Nappy was the percussionist. But they all come from this party called Giant Step.
I've heard of Giant Step.
Yeah, and Giant Step was one of those things where in the 90s there was this movement of like mixing jazz and hip hop and dance music, and you had a DJ, and then you had the band. And the band that was formed from that was Groove Collective. So there's a lot of history there, and then you see how these musicians kind of go into different directions. You know, you've got DJ Nicodemus, who was the DJ at Giant Step. He forms Turntables on the Hudson, a party that went on for years, like mostly a boat party, sometimes a party on the shore, and tours the whole Turntables on the Hudson and does like Turntables on the Nile and etc.
Wow.
Right? And puts out really, really great music on Wonder Wheel Records. I can go on and on. We could just like go down the different rivers and tributaries. And
I have a little story kind of about just DJing in general. Actually, when I was in Amsterdam, I got to see Talib Kweli perform.
Yeah.
And I am a huge fan of Talib Kweli.
He hung out at the Flat.
Did he really?
Yeah.
And he's kind of from, like, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay, yeah.
And he's sort of from Cincinnati / that area / has a connection with it.
Right. His producer. High Tech.
Yeah, High Tech.
Yeah.
And so when I was in Amsterdam, I was at this place called, I think it was Melkweg.
The Melkweg. Milky Way, literally.
Yeah. And I was seeing him there, and I was by myself, but he had a DJ open up for him, and I forget this guy's name. But before that, it's like, okay, I know what a DJ is. I understand turntables and stuff like that, but I don't have the biggest appreciation for it just because I haven't been exposed enough.
Right.
But I was listening, and, I'm real zoned in. I'm focused because of Amsterdam. And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, oh, I get it. This guy is the craziest thing in the world because he's just, like, building on top of building and creating this, like, I don't know, skyscraper of sounds that are all coming together. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And so my appreciation for DJing grew that night.
I appreciate that.
And
I appreciate your appreciation.
Yeah. And so, like, when I've watched you on Instagram Live.
Oh, cool.
Bro, I'm, like, jamming out.
Nice.
I'm like, come on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But,
thank you.
Armin and I, for, like, the Houston Ensemble, I don't know how familiar you are with this term at this point.
Yeah.
It's kind of a band.
Okay.
Not kind of. It totally is a band.
I've heard it. You guys play at Avant? Or have before?
We used to.
Yeah.
We played at Avant. We play at Axelrad. We play at Eighth Wonder Brewery. We play at Mercantile Coffee Shop.
Right.
For, like, a little simple Jazz Tuesday.
Totally.
But we do a bunch of other stuff. We work with a really cool singer.
Nice. Who's the singer?
His name is Vincent Powell.
Okay.
And he's just a really amazing kind of, like, R&B gospel pop singer here in Houston.
Yeah.
And I went to Korea with him a couple summers ago to do, like, a entertainment tour of sorts. And so that's how I got linked up with him.
We did an epic show with, like, a bunch of local, like, hot shots. One of which was Mary Griffin. I don't know if you heard of Mary Griffin.
Yeah, I think I know him.
But
and that's why we were laughing about Maxwell, because we just were playing Ascension, like, last week.
Stuff with that band,
and it was jamming.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so fun.
Yeah. That's a cool song.
It is.
Yeah. It's every time I play that bass line, I think of Boogie Nights. Hold on. Wait.
By Heatwave?
No, the Mary Jane Girls. Why am I blanking? All Night Long.
All Night Long.
I'm sorry. It's like super. Yeah, they're very similar. Not saying they're the same.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about that. But
that's cool. Yeah.
I may have lost where I was going.
Maxwell.
Houston Ensemble.
Yeah,
I was saying something about
you were playing the song.
Oh, I was saying we are doing, like, an original album right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
nice.
working on an original album. And I was thinking, even the other day, I was like, damn, it would be cool to have some DJ stuff on it.
Nice.
So, keep it in the back of your mind.
We'll talk about remixes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of DJs, since we're just here talking about it, it was very interesting, or I just feel like everything is kind of a synchronicity in my life. And, like, I was at the Flat the other week.
Okay.
But because of Thomas and Fem.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were just on the podcast.
Oh, cool.
2 weeks ago, right when they were here.
Yeah, from Tulum.
Yeah, from Tulum. And I had met Thomas my sophomore year at Rice.
Okay.
And that was before I even went to Amsterdam. So it's like I met Thomas.
Really? Okay.
And simultaneously I was applying to go study in Amsterdam.
Nice.
And then got it, and then hung out with Thomas on King's Day.
Oh, that's cool.
Because he invited me to hang out on King's Day and then make some music for his DJ stuff. And then, and now you're here on the podcast. Yeah. So it's like we got a smorgasbord of stuff.
Yeah, and it's a small world.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas came to me, when we were playing at the flat, mostly on the Sunday nights. He wanted to join in, and we were doing a little take on disco, like disco, new disco kind of stuff. And so he wanted to be a part of it. He showed me a video that he had recorded in the Netherlands.
Was he rapping?
Yeah, he was rapping.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was freaking amazing. And then got to be good friends with him, and of course, from a very selfish notion, it was my opportunity to practice Dutch. So yeah, that was very useful. Thomas and Femke. So it's really cool. When you're in a loud environment, it's really hard to practice the Dutch speaking, right? Because it's just really loud, and you kind of lose your mind. But once we got to the patio and we started talking a little bit more, I was able to go back and forth. You do have to appreciate though, like if we don't go into kind of a formal Dutch and we go Amsterdam slang versus Rotterdam slang, it's different, right?
Oh, I'm not really even aware of that.
Yeah, I mean it's. I have started conversations with people, and they're from Amsterdam, and they go into their Amsterdam slang, and I'm not necessarily kind of grasping what they're talking about.
Oh man.
Because there's certain metaphors, certain slang words. But same would happen they probably are familiar with Rotterdam slang. It's just that I'm familiar with Rotterdam slang, but I'm not very familiar with Amsterdam slang. Just because I was there until age 7, and then back in the summers for the next 7 years or so, 8 years, and then that's it. So you absorb as much as you can until that age, and then you just hold on to the language. So whenever I would speak with someone, I would apologize and go, hey, I have about a age 14 level of vocabulary. So
I'm going to revert to a 14-year-old right now. You know what I thought was really funny when I was there is learning about some of the insults that you can say. And one of the insults that apparently is very offensive is calling somebody a kanker.
Yeah.
Which is basically cancer.
Yeah.
Like you are a cancer.
Well, basically, Rotterdam is definitely notorious for doing that, right? You say pleur up, you say kanker up, and basically what they're saying is go get cancer. So that's not the coolest thing, right? So those are horrific. They're wishing curses on you, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Which might be the quintessential old European thing to do. I curse upon you.
It's funny.
I curse upon you, COVID.
Is there enough live music in Houston?
In Houston, live music, I would say not the proper kind. If you're talking about, doing covers, I'm sorry, but you can hire a jukebox, right?
Right.
But I don't want to come across the wrong way, but I just feel like, because those are opportunities for musicians to play, so I don't want to be Mr. Snooty about it either. But I just feel like if the business atmosphere about hiring musicians were to be a little bit more open-minded and to be able to say, look, we like what you do, play your original stuff, then you get the opportunity to do that, rather than a business owner coming in and saying, well, I got this particular crowd that's coming in from the suburbs, and they're going to need to hear a little bit of Garth Brooks mixed with Brick House and the regular stuff that's going to make people dance. Sorry, had that discussion with Lewis from Dem out of Galveston, right? Because he was gonna play at Yaga's, and his buddy was like, "Yo, man, you gotta toss in some familiar stuff." And Dem has original music, and I was not wanting to be offensive to the dude, but I was trying to put him in check a little bit. Like, hey, man, can you give the man an opportunity to play his original music? That's how original music, grows, right? That's how you can grow as a musician, as a band, etc. So very loaded question. You asked the question. Mm-hmm. Good on you, Armin.
We need some more. It's not enough. I mean, this is a huge city. It's like the 4th biggest whatever, and it's got all these people. It's like, where's the music?
I have
and it's open.
And it's open.
Comparatively, relatively.
I have a 2-hour discourse on that. So you guys have 2 hours here, because
I got to teach a lesson at 4.
Yeah. The infrastructure here is not centralized enough.
Interesting.
And so there's one way to go about this, right? We can bemoan the fact, or we can actually start the conversation about, hey, how can we build an infrastructure? Mm-hmm. I'd rather speak in the affirmative positive. But I mean, if you gave me some time, I could maybe go into like why personally I think intuitively things are not gelling the way they should in major markets.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like that there isn't the Hollywood here.
Uh-huh.
I kind of like that because centralization is good, and then what happens is it gets really centralized, and then it gets really hyper competitive, and then you got a bunch of, and then you got Hollywood. And I'm not saying anything bad about Hollywood, but it isn't like, it's not all glitter out there, you know what I'm saying?
All right. So can I toss something out to you?
Yeah.
All right. So can we have a middle ground?
Yeah.
Because right now we got the opposite of the spectrum, right?
We got nothing.
Yeah.
Well, you're saying it's completely decentralized.
It's completely decentralized, and it's driven by conservative business principles, basically, mm-hmm. right? And by that, I'm not speaking in political sense necessarily. Conservative business principles means running your business other than the flat. And what I mean by that is we're not driven by commercial mainstream interest, right? Yeah. The way I want to stand out is by being somewhat of a niche scene for people to come to and experience something different. 95% of the businesses that are going to be operating on a conservative business principle are not going to do that. They're going to go mainstream, what's going to bring in the dollars, what's going to happen, and they're going to focus on that, right? So if you're not playing covers, then I'm sorry, but we need to serve, these folks that are coming through the door.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it takes a few businesses to break that mold to see, but break the mold and have success, right? You got to have sustained success. So if they break the mold and go out of business, then that you're shooting.
Bad.
Yeah, you're shooting that notion in the foot.
What do you think, besides good content and good songs, it takes for an artist to break through some sort of threshold?
A very strong knowledge of how the market works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I say this all the time. Like I've got music that's distributed worldwide. I could do a much better job getting it out there, but there are reasons why, and I still have aspirations to get it out to the entire world, etc. I am distributed internationally. I mention that in the same breath that I will say there are, tens, maybe hundreds producers that are doing the same quality of work that I'm doing. Of those, there's probably a ton of them that are better than me. But the difference is they're not getting it to market, right? So, and in music, it's not about better. It's not. Music's not a competition, right?
Right.
Even though we live in a competitive milieu, in a competitive atmosphere. My music is what it is because of this specific aesthetic, and I make it this way because that's the way I want to hear it, and that's the way I feel like it needs to be produced, etc. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to be successful in distributing this or in getting it distributed, you need to have an understanding of what it takes to get it out to market. And I say that my daughter makes music. She sings. She does amazing work. And whenever we're speaking or whenever she's sending me music to listen to, and then she's asking me questions, the first thing I say is, okay, please study the technical aspects of what you're doing from a business standpoint and also from a studio standpoint. Like, really get to know what you're doing, like in terms of publishing, royalties, how to get the music out, etc. Because that's a very, very important part of what you need to know. And we're not Hollywood, so we don't have offices where you can walk in and go, hey, can I speak with a music manager? Right. You know, can you guys manage my career for me? Mm-hmm. You're not going to have that. And even bands like Khruangbin, they had to move to LA. They moved to LA for a bit. And you know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to leave town to get that infrastructure to get going. You got to be a good band as well. I mean, they're amazing musicians. And does that answer your question?
I think, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that we even understand that, but it's nice to hear it from you to kind of get another perspective on it. It's really funny. We just had Omar Lissandro on the podcast, and he was just doing...
He's the guitar player?
More of a fashion designer.
Okay.
And
dropping everything.
He actually plays piano as well, but he was just doing the fashion/outfits for the Khruangbin Leon Bridges photo shoot the other day.
That's awesome.
And they were all just back here.
Yeah.
So it's
and then
funny
they came to the flat and hung out there.
They came to the flat. See, it's like all.
But all on the D, right?
Because I would have. Somebody should have told me.
Well,
I like Khruangbin.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, Mark's one of my best friends, and they need to be able to like decompress and find a place where they could just chill. And if and people tell me all the time, hey, why didn't you call me and tell me they were here?
Right.
And why didn't you tell me Leon Bridges was there? And I'm like, well, that goes against the grain of what I want to do with the flat. I want you to be there and happen upon it. It's unless they're announcing a party and they're ready to go, like we did the after party for the show that we did at White Oak Music Hall a couple of years ago. Unless that's happening, then that's not happening, right? Then it's just like, hey, yes, come on by. Let's have some mezcal, tequila, and then let's just hang out. And then whoever happened to have been there will have seen it. You know what I mean?
Just gonna hang outside like the whole time.
Yeah.
Just waiting for something.
Right. Just gonna hang out by the front door. That's one strategy. Yes.
That's funny. I'm gonna switch it up on you.
Sure.
We're speaking synchronicity. We're speaking interweaving timelines. Give us your opinion on the nature of reality and what it means to be alive.
Wow. That's no
preface.
I mean, you want to go there, we can like, what is reality, and are we actually here? Are we alive? Are we in this third dimension? I'm messing with you.
I don't know.
I'm messing with you. No, I mean, look, for me, I'm having a great time being alive, man. So it's just learning to live for like this moment, right? Like, just the fact that I'm here, that I'm doing this, and we're just having a great time, right? I haven't seen my phone for the last hour or so I'm not worried about who might be blowing me up, or where I need to be. I do need to be at the flat by 3 to hand them a check so we can have some liquor delivery. But that's about it. Otherwise, I'm in this moment, and that's life, and that's being alive. COVID hits, and you go, holy crap, this is reality. It is reality. The reality is there's nothing coming into my bank account. Like, what's going on? Can't, I'm not DJing. There's no bar money coming in, right? What are we gonna do? We're just gonna live, right? And we're gonna play music.
Yeah.
And find the resources to like get online and with whatever we still have, just do it and see where it goes from there. And yeah.
What do you think about, like just the nature of your consciousness and what it means to die and what it means to leave this realm? And maybe you already have left this realm or not, but give us your opinion on that.
Yeah, so I don't give that a whole lot of thought usually. I do have I'm a universalist, right? So I believe in universal consciousness. So by that definition, we've been here before, you and I, in some incarnation, right? Or, if this is your first go around, you will come back and you're going to have an opportunity to like correct some of the things that you may not have done right until you get it right, maybe, and then that's your last pass through.
And then after you get it right, what's supposed to happen?
That I don't have the answer for, but if you ask me in another 20 years, I might have come to that conclusion. But still working on it, still learning a lot, and I'm only 25, so.
Nah.
How old are you, actually? Just curious.
26.
Your skin looks great.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
27.
Yeah, he's going the right direction. So, like I was saying earlier, in 12 days I'll have a birthday. It's now, for those that are watching the recording, it's January 7th.
Today, January 8th today.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so in 11 days.
It's good for me because 8 is my synchronicity number.
Got it.
So this is all good.
This is working out for you. January 19th, I'll be 55.
Nice.
Suriname don't crack.
Yeah.
Does not crack.
Well, it helps that my father is both black and Chinese.
That's my step grandpa.
Okay.
I have a black side to my family.
Okay.
And my step grandpa is also black and Chinese.
Nice. Caribbean? From the Caribbean or?
No, like from Africa.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
not many generations, but
Got it. Yeah.
It's cool because you can actually really see the Chinese coming through, and it's really interesting to see those mixes.
Yeah.
So
there's a history to that, and I actually like studied it, and I was able to go to China and find.
Oh, you went to China?
Find the place of my ancestors. This was sponsored, it was sponsored by Asia Society Center.
I've totally seen that.
Yeah.
Here in Houston.
Yeah, in 2015, I went to China and kind of documented what I did to find the place where I most likely. The most likely place my ancestor came from. And I did that through speaking with and communicating with what's called a sinologist, a gentleman or a woman who studies the science of China, but Chinese migration specifically from China to Suriname. And there are specific studies in the Netherlands for that. And so there was a professor of sinology who I actually communicated with, and then there was a genealogist also from Suriname who helped me, find the thread there as to like where, which one of the people in the various documents that we looked at. There's still archives in The Hague for ships that have landed in Suriname. And so we were able to track exactly who that was, where it came from, etc. And we were able to pinpoint Shinxi, spelled with a Q, as the point of like that's where your families come from.
Wow.
So it was interesting, and then corroborating that with family members who are tracking our genealogy as well.
Wow.
So I was able to reconcile that, you know.
That's very cool.
Because I walk around with a Chinese last name, and DJ's son is actually from the Sun Dynasty. Like, it's an homage to the ancestor.
That's so sweet.
Did you do a DNA test?
I did not. Don't tell my sister, because she bought me a 23andMe kit.
Yeah. And you're like, hell
nah.
I
didn't quite say it like that, but as she kept pushing me to take it, I was like, hesitation. I don't know. I don't know if I want my DNA in the system.
Not yet. It's coming. Look, we're about to do a podcast here. I'll tell you off there. I don't want to give it away on this.
Some intense ones coming up.
Yeah. But real quick, I wanted to say this when we were talking about kind of reincarnation. I've been watching. There are two movies that have made like a huge impact on my subconscious recently.
Okay.
And that's Blade Runner.
Okay.
I had never seen Blade Runner,
Yep.
so I watched pretty much the old one and the new one.
Okay.
And then
That's a good way to do it.
I watched Cloud Atlas over a span of like 5 days, and I'd never seen that either.
Cloud Atlas?
Cloud Atlas.
Okay.
And it's with Tom Hanks and Halle Berry.
Huh.
I'm gonna be honest, every time I see Tom Hanks in a movie, I'm like, this is the corniest thing I've ever seen in my life. But in this movie, he did all right.
Yeah. Did you ever see Bosom Buddies?
No.
The show he came from?
No.
Yeah, so he came from like a sitcom.
Bosom Buddies.
Go watch that.
Like Bud Buddies.
Or like boobs. Like
or
bosoms.
Bud Bosoms Buddies. Okay.
Bosom Buddies, I guess it's an older term for like they're really close friends.
Okay.
But no,
I didn't mean to go there with that. I was just a little confused. I'm foreign.
Like,
yeah.
Asking my brothers.
So am
But I was watching this scene last night, and so I don't need to really explain the background. Long story short, Armin has seen the movie. He told me about it.
Yeah.
They open up these doors, and they're killing the AI-created Asian girls. They're like waitresses at like virtual reality type restaurants, but they actually have consciousness, and they're actually full bodies.
Wow.
But they're treated like cattle.
Yeah.
Like at a slaughterhouse.
And it's interesting that they're AI created, but specifically made to look like Asian women.
Yeah, they are specifically Asian women, but they
dark.
have consciousness, and they're like gene edited.
Right.
And
the little bit of an extra thing is that in the future, in one of the timelines in the movie, they predict that there's going to be like Asia's going to become the next superpower. And then like the top society of people are going to be kind of like white Asian mix.
Got it.
And then the very low is the Asians.
Got it.
And that's her boyfriend, kind of. Is he like kind of that white Asian
There's a boyfriend figure
mix?
who's a white Asian mix.
Got
He's like
it.
elite class. And he actually rebels against the status quo and joins the revolution.
Interesting.
To free all these workers, etc., etc.
Long story short, there's a scene where they open the doors and they look over this giant factory so you know how cows are hung by their feet on the thing?
Yeah.
Well, it's all these bodies.
Wow.
And as the doors opened and I saw that scene, I had a huge deja vu.
Oh, no.
And they're in these red robes as they come through the door.
Yeah.
And it was such a big deja vu that I was frightened.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck, did I see that before?
Yeah. Did you see that in Texas or in Amsterdam?
In Texas.
The movie?
No, the deja vu.
Oh. Man, I don't know, but it was so like, you know when you get a deja vu, you're just I know it's a deja vu because you didn't have that feeling before.
That's universal consciousness, right?
Right, yeah. And that's just experiencing that, and it was so weird. And it's like I could place the memory in my head of seeing that somewhere else.
Yeah.
But who
were in 14, 12.
And what's even crazier is my girlfriend just told me about a dream that she had the other night that was like kind of a mirror image to Cloud Atlas. And I hadn't been telling her that I was watching that.
Wow.
And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, that is.
And we're usually very synced.
Huh.
So, okay, you're going to have to go to the flat soon.
Yeah.
We're basically at an hour. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like we got plenty to say, but we got to cut it somewhere.
True.
But everybody, DJ Sun on the Houston Ensemble podcast. Man, thank you for coming today.
Man, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This was an immense pleasure.
Do you should send us any socials that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put them in the description.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And, for anybody who's watching this, please go support The Flat. Yeah. Go support local businesses here in Houston. Like I said in the very beginning, this is one of the coolest redone recently bars / dance clubs here in Houston.
Oh yeah,
and
it's as cool as
it actually is.
York
Probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Like coming back to it that night,
cool.
I was like, oh shit, I forgot how fucking cool this is.
Yeah, thank you.
So
thank you.
Anyway, go support that.
Appreciate it.
We got some crazy stuff coming up. We might get banned.
Yeah, we might get banned, but you heard it here first.
We need your support, and we'll see you on episode 18 next time.
Nice.
Give us the countdown.
On 1, 3, 2, 1.